So, welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalja, and today we're joined by Robert Godwin, CEO of Lamington Group. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what Lamington Group does?
Absolutely. So I'm Rob Godwin. I'm the CEO of the business. It's a family-run real estate group that's existed or was founded in 1967 by my father. It started as a residential business in West London and grew through the time as a developer, turning from a developer into more of sort of a lettings agency or with its private sort of lettings portfolio. And then in sort of the early 2000s, morphed a lot of that residential real estate into serviced apartment operational business. And ever since 2006, when we kicked off, just ahead of the Airbnb wave, or when it sort of launched, we've been really heavily focused on the sort of the short-term accommodation market. The serviced apartment has taken us from serviced apartments, which is sort of very sort of simple type of hospitality, through to now where we operate, which is very much in the more established, larger sites as apart hotels.
That's fascinating. And what inspired you to create Lamington Group? Was there a specific moment or experience that sparked this journey?
Yeah, well, it's a second generation business now. So I've been carrying on, I suppose, my father's legacy. I work alongside my brother, who's our managing director. And the business, which started just three people when I joined about 15 years ago, is now over 200. So we've seen really amazing growth over that time. It's been a lot of work. Yeah, it's been a fascinating and really enjoyable journey. It's a business which is a really reflection of myself and the type of values that I think I embody, the passions that I have in hospitality, and creating products which I think others would like, based on sort of what I believe is good quality. And it's just been a pleasure to build.
Perfect. So let's go back to when you first started. What major challenges or gaps did you see in the market that made you think this needs to be solved?
So yeah, just back in '06, there was holiday apartments. There was sort of the typical holiday lets, I think, in holiday apartments. You can go and get a short-term accommodation in the rental market. And it was my mother who, back at the time, started this off. But she saw a gap to provide very central London apartments, which had the benefit and the flexibility of being able to have stay for only a few nights or a few weeks, but not have to stay in a hotel where you haven't got facilities to live comfortably with a bit of like lounge area, or you haven't got predominantly kitchen space, which without a kitchen when you stay somewhere really does fundamentally change what you can do in that accommodation. In a hotel room, you can only sleep and lounge. But with the benefit of a kitchen, you can now eat, you can dine, and you can maintain eating habits. You really can look after younger children. You can really fundamentally change how you operate. And I'm sorry, I got going. And it's about trying to provide a greater value to what the hotel provide greater value to what customers benefit from in hotels, and to give them a more value. So there was a lot of opportunity at that time. Different parts of America and Europe had further progression with more. Let's call it sort of serviced apartment accommodation, and there's a huge gap. So that's when we sort of started to see a lot of demand, and the sector was really growing. From there on, we've been developing the product further with more design, more experience, and more technologies, greater customer service, and increasingly more sustainability into our products, which is really around creating a brand differentiation and an experience which separates from the wide hospitality sector.
Yeah, I see. That's really great. And I have a curiosity, how are you balancing traditional real estate models with emerging markets demands?
So we, as a business, operate under sort of two parts of real estate. We've got a property arm, which is really around the core real estate, the bricks and mortar, and that's more of an investment business. On top of that, there is the operational business, which basically is, of course, what makes provides hospitality product and experience. The two go hand in hand, and they do support each other. We've been very much using the hospitality operational arm to support the real estate and turn it in really it's operational real estate. But integrating the two has given us a lot of ability to control the end-to-end experience, which for us is paramount to trying to make sure we're building what the customer will benefit from.
Okay. And what market opportunities are you seeing despite current economic challenges?
Yeah, so I was listening to another podcast the other day, and it was current economic challenges. I mean, of course, we've got the Trumps, we've got wars, and we've got interest rates high. That we sort of, and we've had COVID, of course, recently, and in the last 3 or 4 years, we've got these major examples of economic challenge. But even just before then, we had Brexit in the UK. There were other political events, and there were other major events which we sort of now forget, but they were what we discussed back then, and now we've just got a whole new string. So it made me really think about. Of course, there's always a sort of seems to be something going on, which is sometimes always a problem or reason not to do something. But economic events are cycles and and expected, and we're so global that we cannot. And this is a lot of sort of recent thought, but we can't be tied down per se by a story somewhere to restrict the fundamental demand supply within our local markets. Of course, there are macroeconomic events, and I think Trump is having an intended effect to slow down his economy down, so he can probably reduce his overall government spending. Seems to be a strategy. But within this market, it is long-term investing, and we are very much focused on trying to. It takes so long to design and build and get something into stabilized operational state that it's 5 years down the line. So we're a 60-year business now almost, and our investment decisions really are based on demand and supply principles and fundamentals, and making sure that if we build something which is good in the right location and we operate it well, hopefully it will outlast any economic cycle and event which we wouldn't want to impact our long-term investment decisions.
Okay, that's interesting. And could you elaborate on why the existing solutions weren't meeting these needs?
Well, when I started for about 13, 14 years ago, competition in our local sector, in our subsector of hospitality in the hotel service apartment market was very early stage. The quality of accommodation that we put out was slightly comical. Was doesn't compare anything to sort of today's market. Very bland, very vanilla, very tired to a degree. The quality just wasn't there, but then the competition wasn't there as well. As things have moved on in our subsector has definitely matured. Has taken a lot of inspiration from some of the best hotel brands around the world. Particularly, we focus on the lifestyle element of the apart hotel space. So definitely trying to provide the functionality with kitchens in the hotel rooms versus just the hotel rooms, but adding on the dimension of the greater customer experience, which I think fundamentally aligns with trends of seeking out experiences more than consumption. And so over time, there's definitely been a huge evolution towards high quality design, high quality experiences. And it's really trying to keep up and stay one step ahead of the customer trends and just try to keep adding value.
And was the breaking point that made you decide to tackle this problem?
Then it's a breaking point. I think it's always looking, always listening, and trying to learn, and going across the world and staying in places for me, or consuming the products that we would be in different markets, and constantly just trying to learn and to see what people are doing, and to try and just take a little bit from everywhere and put it together into a package which we can deliver and our market responds to ultimately. Over time, we've opened 3 hotels, hotels under our brand called Room 2, which are sitting at number 1 on TripAdvisor in their local markets. So the number 1 hotel across the entire city is our building, is our apart hotel. And so we think we've got the combination of the touch points and the service style and the consistency up to a standard which resonates and customers appreciate, which is ultimately what we do this for.
So, walk us through how Lamington Group addresses these challenges. What makes your approach unique?
Our approach, we're a family-run business, so we are very hands-on. We are very involved in the detail, the small detail and the big picture. And that, I think, gives us an advantage because there is true passion and care that comes through our product. The team, I believe, feel it. They know that we want to try and do this. This is through sort of the joy and the pleasure of it, and we have visions which ultimately help to steer the business into the future with a clear path over our growth commitments, which is to open 5,000 bedrooms by 2030, but also to deliver quality products, which is what we do. But ultimately, it's really around, increasingly, it has been for the last 5 years now, with very firm sustainability commitments, which are really around, very heavily aligned around our hospitality product and our service, which is to take care in all of our work, but sustainability is to take care and responsibility for our contributions to the footprints, whether it's waste, water, energy, carbon, and it's just that ownership. I think people believe that we are authentic and we do want to do good work, which people also want to do as well.
Okay. And I have a little curiosity by then. When you talk to potential clients, what's the biggest misconception they typically have about what you do?
Well, focusing on Lamington Group is a real estate business, and so we do have hopefully the clients that come and look at Lamington understand we're more a property development, property investment, asset management organisation. Our brands that we operate, which are Room 2 Hotels, which is our apart hotel brand. We're about to launch a new one, which will be a highly sustainable, experiential sort of luxury offer in two key UK cities. Quite significant assets in their own right. And we've got other brands in food and beverage and co-working, which are all part of a suite of a family of brands. But customers, I suppose, hopefully they will see the differences, but they all come together as a suite of brands that share the same values.
Okay. And could you share a specific success story or a client who saw significant results using your solution?
Yeah. I mean, we work with partners all day, all the time. So at Lamington, we work with investor partners who are essentially backing us to secure or buy a real estate. We'll be buying that real estate, investing in planning permissions and consents that get us a new permits to build a new hotel. And then they or another party will come in and provide the equity which is needed to grow and to invest in that. And we're talking, 20, 30 million minimum really these days, to sort of got sites at 100 and maybe some future ones which are going to be well over 100 million. So there's significant investments which we need, and the investments which we are providing are safe, as we'd like to make them, as we try and make them investments which are there for the long term. Real estate has a intrinsic value. It's got a location, it's got a building, it's got a physical product, and they are less they're less vulnerable to demand shocks or supply shocks, as maybe sort of stocks are, and so they provide good, long, stable investments. And with a track record that we have around operating for now 60 years, nearly 60 years, number one buildings, we are providing a very reliable investment solution. So increasingly, we are working with some of the biggest UK institutions, family offices, heavily keen to get involved in our work because of the track record and reputation which we've been working hard to build.
Okay. And looking at the broader industry, what key trends are you seeing emerge?
What trends are we seeing in March?
Yeah.
Future trends. There is a lot of trends. I think in sustainability is a long-term trend, which has got having some change at the moment in terms of some of the regulation, which has a knock-on impact from America's changing stance on sustainability. It's, I suppose, a bump in the road to long-term structural changes that the world needs to make, and hopefully will be making. There are bumps in the road for that, which businesses all in time will hopefully need to address. Customer trends. There is challenge on purchasing power. Interest rates remain high for mortgages, and businesses are going through, I think, some efficiencies, seeking opportunities which are, I think, driven largely around tech availability and AI now sweeping through. There is a lot of moving pieces, from political to economic and interest rates and consumers. Every angle there's the movement of one part of the puzzle.
Right. And how are these trends affecting how businesses operate in our space?
We are, take the example of AI at the moment. I think our margins are being squeezed all the time. Every year we go by, we're doing budgets at the moment, and every season it's hard to make numbers work. And then we're not alone. Businesses all around the world will find that we want to revenue, sort of trying to fight to get revenue in, and costs, people or departments are always trying to grow their teams and spend more money on their departments. So we're always challenged to find the savings at this time of year. With the wave of AI, with the general population, I think adoption and interest and the belief in the opportunity that AI can bring. And it's not maybe just AI, technology, which sits all around us. There is a major cultural shift, which I've been now working on for the last 3 months, just to digest and to strategize and to personally plan this out with a few close colleagues to start to fundamentally change the business's direction and the culture. I am seeking to make a blended average efficiency or productivity gain or efficiency improvement of a minimum of 40% across the entire organization. And what that means is every department blended is expected to find ways to improve their productivity, their performance, their ROI, their revenue by 40%, or they will save 40% of time, 40% of cost, there or thereabouts.
Okay.
It depends on the department, obviously, but it's to set a pretty high benchmark, of which I expect those benchmarks will be smashed by a few departments very, very significantly, in order to not just sort of try and use technology, but to get to get ahead of the competition. Is really to protect the margins. The margins are going up everywhere, and using technology or finding ways to get more efficient is the ways that we can maintain a margin, let alone try to not largely improve it. And the world is moving so incredibly fast that I need to try and lead this project, but I also need everyone on my team to be behind this. And so there's very much a cultural shift that teaching and empowering people to believe that they, in every part of their role, can really think about what they're doing, if it's even relevant, and if they have technology at their fingertips already, if it's being fully utilized, which is often not, how we seek out integrations and automations and APIs across everything, so that manual tasks or anything anything that uses a piece of technology, in all honesty, has the ability to probably be automated to a degree or systemized or cut out. Anything off technology we have to do obviously manually, but that's very few items. But it's a really wholesale review of absolutely everything we do to seek out those efficiencies.
Okay, I see. And I have a good one. This comes from my mind right now. How do you balance aggressive growth with maintaining operational excellence?
So we have a plan that's been for the last 5 years to open 5,000 bedrooms by 2030. That is quite significant growth. We have, over the last 5 years, despite my earlier comments about macroeconomic environments being quite sort of always around, they have been quite significant over the last 3 or 4, 5 years, particularly in interest rates and commercial real estate in the last few years. So it's been pretty hostile conditions, but our aggressive growth commitments remains the same. I made the public commitment. I've made the commitment to my team and to myself. So we're very still determined to have this aggressive growth. Maintaining operational standards, as you ask, is, in my opinion, one of the greatest challenges, the scale challenge of having a team which is able to take that 10x growth. We've got about 500 operational keys now. We're looking to have 1,000. So I fundamentally believe it's possible, but it's only possible when we're built on very strong foundations of business systems, people who are trained, who are empowered, who have the strong culture, and essentially leaving no stone unturned as we go through the journey to make sure that at whatever point of the scale we're at, we are in the best possible place to have that growth. If we know that we are stepping over cracks or plastering things up, we know, or I know, that those things are going to resurface at one point in the future. And there is no point in making short-term wins when we know that we're going to have long-term issues as a consequence of a short-term win.
Right.
So it is a very much, as we go through, just doing the right thing all the way through.
Okay. And in your opinion, what do you think most business owners are getting wrong when they're trying to address this specific problem?
I think a lot of growth is coming. People want to grow. Businesses that want to grow is natural. I think it's great. There's a market, obviously, for a lot of people have great products that need to get to more people. But the rush to grow needs to be balanced with the ability to plan and prepare and to put the systems and process and team in place. It's potentially a different mindset and skill set. Founders and leaders of businesses have a job to grow the business, and there's different operational heads that would look after the ops. But I think the risks are growing too quickly without that foundation. And sometimes growth is key to forcing the hand of departments to basically become better organized and more scalable. And I think the two go hand in hand to maintain have a vision over the ability to have a department ready to scale, which allows the preparation for it. So I think it's what's the answer? It's I think departments, maybe, or businesses would want to think, as hard as they can around, if they were operating at 10 times stretching maybe what is realistically going to happen maybe in 2-3 times, but 10 times. Could we operate with 10 times the revenue right now? And if not, or could we get to that very quickly without problems? Then I think that answers the question whether the business is built for scale.
And what advice would you give to business owners who want to stay ahead of these changes?
So, I mean, with regards, I think the AI shift and the technologies that's sweeping through, I think it's critical that business owners wake up and smell this coffee. This coffee is strong. This is going to be fundamental structural changes to the way that not only businesses do work, but individuals do their work. And unless individuals are upskilling and adopting technologies within their roles, the great quote around AI is, we're not going to be put out of work by AI, but we'll be put out of work by the people that use it. And I think that's really eye-opening and fundamental to help people in their specific roles, whatever that might be, to think very carefully or very hard about how they start to adopt it and become stronger in their own right, because then they can help the business. And so it's very much a grassroots change in order to try and make sure that everyone is staying not necessarily one step ahead, but ultimately adopting it and not falling behind, which is a risk.
Right. As we wrap up, what's next for Lamington Group? Any exciting developments on the horizon?
So we've got a pipeline of hotels around about 2,200 now. A lot of those are significant buildings, about sort of 100 to 200 unit buildings in key UK cities, which are all being designed and built to net zero standards. So we're leading the way in our sector nationally and internationally for commitments to build to net zero standards. Those buildings will stand out amongst the investment world for having very, very low energy and being decarbonised, running for purely electric energy and a whole host of efficiencies within. As part of that pipeline, there's some significant buildings in Manchester and London, which will be tall buildings, but very hopefully sort of statement pieces for the cities, with a lot of green architecture, which is something which we're very focused on, trying to bring greenery into cities. And we think that's going to be it's good for the environment, it's good for social, it's good for the city, and it's starting to sort of represent a shift to the sustainable city of the future, which is something which we've been working very heavily on, trying to craft buildings which are fit for the future versus maybe the past, and to try and push the innovation of operations and buildings forwards alongside all of our operational and guest experiences as well. That's much to look forward to, and a lot of growth ahead, and exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for a listener who want to learn more or potentially work with Lamington Group, what's the best way to keep in touch?
So be delighted to hear from anybody who's keen to work with us. We are seeking. We've got 600, 700 million of development opportunities coming up over the next sort of 12 to 24 months in that sort of time frame, and we are starting to sort of prepare ourselves for going out and looking for the partners which we'll need on a investment basis for the whole group or into individual assets. So investors and high net worths and family offices are ones which we'll be interested to talk to in due course. So if there's interest, it'd be fantastic. Otherwise, Lamington Group has got a list of career opportunities, partnership opportunities for predominantly focusing on the operational experience or sustainability. Lamingtongroup.com is our main website.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing those insights about you, about your company, and the whole story. And thank you for this podcast and amazing session.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So see you next time. Bye.
Thanks very much.